Good morning. I'm coming to you from the Wakatahatchee wetlands here in the first week of May, which would be pretty much coming to the end of the bird photography season, or at least very close to it. Anyways, I hadn't been out here in about 2 weeks, so I'm curious to see what kind of photo opportunities are available to me. I'm going to go ahead and shoot today with the Fuji XT5. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to test the latest firmware update that made some improvements to the autofocus. I'm seeing people making comments on the internet saying that the autofocus is still not as great as it should be. My experience with the Fuji X-H2 and the X-H2S thus far this bird photography season has been outstanding. So I'm curious to see how a camera like the Fuji X-T5 can perform. And I'm going to be using that camera with the Fuji XF100-400mm lens. And let's see if there's some photo opportunities out here for me this morning. A couple of quick initial thoughts using the XT5. It's funny because I've been using the XH2 for all my bird photography for the last couple of months. Definitely the size of it makes a big difference. Also the fact that the 1-400mm lens on the small body, it's not the best, especially once Fuji eliminated the option of buying a grip for the XT5, something that you could do with every previous generation, and something that initially I thought I was gonna walk away from Fuji because they made that choice. But I've adapted. So I have had a couple of opportunities to photograph this great blue heron. Interesting thing, the autofocus box is doing a very good job of getting on the eye of the birds, but with this great blue heron sometimes it would get on the beak. But for the most part it's performing pretty well. Now I've been fortunate to have a couple of opportunities to capture some flying birds. Had an opportunity with the wood stork. On these photos the birds kind of came up on me pretty quick, so I had to react quickly and hopefully compose the picture in a way where I was able to capture it in focus. The box was getting on the bird, so very encouraging performance thus far by the Fuji X-T5 along with the Fuji XF100-400mm lens. I saw this opportunity to photograph this small bird. I saw him hopping around between the tall grass, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to see just how well the autofocus system can perform. It's very challenging, so if I got those pictures to come out, that's very impressive. My shutter speed was at 1/2000th of a second. Hopefully it was fast enough to capture it as it was bouncing around the grass to another part of grass. It was kind of funny the way it was going about it. It was just hopping around instead of flying, just hopping to different pieces of grass. But the autofocus box was getting on the bird, so that part of it is impressive. Whether it was actually getting the photo in focus, that'll be a different story. So the small bird showed up again, and this time it was kind of just sitting there on a tall piece of grass, and gave me an opportunity to try to compose some pictures where I was trying to compose in between the blades of grass, so it'll be interesting to see. Again, the box is getting on the bird's face, so that's good. A couple of brief comments about what I'm doing as far as the camera settings. I am using the camera on manual as far as the exposures are concerned, so I'm picking the aperture with my back wheel, and I'm picking the shutter speed. I'm actually picking it on the dial, which is kind of cool because what I've done is I've set it to about 1/2000th of a second. I can go ahead and turn the front dial and actually select the higher or lower shutter speeds if needed. This is just a small range that you can do that for, but it's kind of cool because I can pick that initial shutter speed and then I can adjust it with the front dial of the camera. So that's a pretty neat way of doing things. One thing about the motor drive on the XT5 definitely sounds very different than when it does on the XH2. Feels like it's louder, and you kind of feel that vibration of the mechanical shutter, so that's kind of interesting. As far as the autofocus and stuff, it seems to be performing well. It's quick. The motor drive, It feels like it's very fast, so I don't feel like I'm gonna miss photos of a flying bird or of a quick opportunity because of the motor drive. It feels very quick. One thing in regards to the handling of the camera, with the 100 to 400 millimeter lens, I find that my pinky finger gets tired pretty quick holding the camera. And it's kind of funny because every camera I've ever owned, first thing I've ever done is go buy a grip for it, because my pinky finger would get tired. And I'm finding that is the case with the Fuji XT5 using the 100 to 400 millimeter lens. As I mentioned, I'm out here, I'm testing that latest firmware of the Fuji XT5, which is 3.01, and the XF100 to 400 millimeter lens is the 1.30. So I believe I have the latest firmware on the lens, and definitely the latest firmware on the Fuji XT5 as of the month of May in the year 2024. So as I was walking here on the boardwalk, I noticed, I believe it's a little blue herring that's actually doing one of my favorite things to photograph, where it's diving into the water trying to get some fish. And that's a great opportunity to try out the camera with the autofocus. The focus box was getting on the bird's eye, so that's very encouraging. I did finally run into maxing out the buffer and having the camera stop shooting because of that fact. So this is the first time I've experienced it, but it was also the first time that I've actually been shooting, multitude of photos. You will have a buffer issue with the Fuji XT5, something that I don't experience with the XH2. I had another opportunity to get some photos of, it's either a little blue, or I think it's actually a tricolor herring that I'm photographing fishing. I am buffing out at 21 frames. 21 frames, it's not about even slowing down, it pretty much stops. Get your finger off the shutter for a moment, and you'll be able to snap another 1 or 2 photos, and it stops again. So regarding the fact that I'm hitting my buffer at about 21 shots, I am using a Lexar V60 memory card. It's about 250 megabyte, and I'm assuming that with the V90 card, perhaps I would get a bit more frames out of the camera, but considering the price of the V90s, I've always been buying V60s. For these pictures of the babies, I went ahead and kept my ISO relatively high, and the reason for that is I wanted an aperture that I could close down to get enough depth of field to capture both birds in focus. The camera does a really good job of getting the box on the eye of the bird. One thing that I did not do with the XT5 that I do with the XH2H and the XH2S is turn on and off the bird and eye autofocus tracking. So I left it on all the time. All of my images here today at Wakatahachi were taken with the bird eye focus tracking turned on the Fuji XT5. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and that we all get some good information out of this. I ask you to please like and subscribe, and I thank you for watching.